Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever episode of Funz Financial Friday, a brand new bi-weekly show where I talk about anything I find interesting in the world of finance and politics. Woohoo! Now, for the inaugural episode of Funz Financial Friday, I believe we should start with an appropriate subject, politics. Today, we are going to be talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, for those of you who don't know, RFK Jr. has been running for president as an independent, making himself an enemy to the duopoly of Republicans and Democrats. Now, because of that, most independents don't make it very far into the election cycle. But due to the rising number of people hating both political parties' candidates, RFK Jr. was able... Stop! I'm gonna have to mute that.
Due to the rising number of people hating both political parties' candidates,
RFK Jr. was able to position himself as a more level-headed, neutral escape from those options, and even led in some polls for a while. See, look at the bottom, 34%. Now, my opinion of RFK Jr. has always been lukewarm at best, and I haven't really paid much attention to him. However, while doing some research on Mr. Kennedy, I discovered something that I was not aware of before. Can anyone in the chat guess what this policy is? Not worms, it's not worms, I swear. How to clear the national debt? You might be onto something with that. We'll get there. Although some of you are on the right track, it seems as if most of you have no idea what you were talking about. So, I'm gonna have to spell it out for you. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. loves Bitcoin. In fact, he loves Bitcoin so much that he took the time to speak at a massive crypto conference in Nashville.
I intend, as President of the United States, to sign an executive order on day one to transfer the approximately 200,000 Bitcoin held by the U.S. government.
Stop!
Transfer the approximately 200,000 Bitcoin held by the U.S. government.
talk faster!
To the United States Treasury.
Treasury? Okay.
Where it will be held as a strategic asset.
Woo! Okay, so he wants to transfer Bitcoin to the US Treasury. Now, I've seen arguments that say that it could act as a hedge against inflation because the Bitcoin supply is capped, so therefore it doesn't, inflate, like the supply doesn't inflate. But in general, I don't see how this would help the US, and I think it would make our financial situation even more volatile than it already is because our supply of Bitcoin would be subject to the rapid swings in value the market goes through on a daily basis. But Kennedy has more to say. Just let him cook for a moment.
On day one as president, I will sign another executive order directing the U.S. Treasury to purchase 550 Bitcoin daily.
550 Bitcoin daily. That on its own, right there, 550 Bitcoin a day. It is $33 million every single day into Bitcoin. And as the value of Bitcoin goes up, that will increase in cost. This got me thinking, why would Kennedy choose Bitcoin, a digital currency based on nothing but speculation, over a more realistic solution to our financial troubles, like printing less money, properly taxing the rich? Let's hold that thought for a moment as we go to the next slide. What is the national debt? Guess right now. Debt that is national. Shit, Frosted Cafe, you get Reddit gold for that one, bro. The national debt is $35 trillion. That is an insane amount of money. It is more than all of the biggest companies in the world's valuations combined. It will honestly probably never be repaid. And in short, we are cooked. Unless, think back to what Kennedy is doing with Bitcoin for a moment. Remember how I said Bitcoin is a speculative asset? What do you think a guaranteed daily deposit of $33 million by the most influential nation in the world will do to the price of Bitcoin? Obviously, this would bring Bitcoin a lot of attention and the price would probably go up. And over a longer period of time, other countries and their citizens might follow suit and invest their savings into Bitcoin, causing the value to go up even higher. Fast forward a few years, the US has a massive amount of Bitcoin, and being early to the trend, now has a ridiculous amount of potential profit. Think back to what RFK Jr. said before about Bitcoin providing the US an escape route from any financial turmoil. What could he have meant by this? I'll give you a small, minuscule hint for any of the intellectuals in my chat. Now, what is this? I'll tell you the answer. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. plans to rug pull the entire world by selling off all of the US's Bitcoin and using the profit to pay off our debt. It's remarkable. It's the biggest rug pull scheme ever devised, and it's the perfect way to generate money while getting around the downturn in popularity that comes with increasing taxes. It takes serious guts to pull something off like that, and that's why RFK Jr. deserves to be our president. Is what I would say if he didn't just drop out today, like 3 hours ago, giving Trump an endorsement on his way out. Unfortunately for Mr. Kennedy, his popularity has waned in recent months. If you look at his favorability graph from the Hill, you can see that the purple line here, which represents unfavorability, has drastically increased a couple times in the last 3 months. Now, I don't know how many of you in the Funz community stay up to date on news, but right around this time, right here, a lot of reports came out about Kennedy having parasitic brain worms. Apparently, over 10 years ago, Kennedy's surgeon found a dead worm in his brain, which Kennedy believed had affected his short-term memory loss to a problematic degree. So pretty immediately after this news came out, his public image as a physically and mentally strong candidate went out the window, and this chart right here reflects that. As for this most recent dip in popularity at the end of the chart here, I think the most likely cause is Kamala Harris winning back some of the people who didn't like Biden, because remember, a lot of Kennedy's favorability came from the fact that both candidates were very unpopular to the general masses until Biden stepped down. So now that we know that Kennedy is endorsing Trump on his way out, let's take a look at the polls. As of yesterday, we can see that Harris is leading Trump by 2.9%. With RFK endorsing Trump, it's not clear exactly what will happen. We can kind of see that Kamala's lead starts to stagnate in the last week or two. And I think that with RFK endorsing Trump, there is potential for Trump to gain a little bit more in the future, but I don't really know if that'll happen. So, I mean, we'll have to wait until next Funz Financial Friday to give this a look again. Now, with politics wrapped up for the week, we are going to be pivoting to the real meat and potatoes of Financial Friday. The stock market. Woo! And what a day in the market it was. Today, the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell signaled a Federal Reserve interest rate cut is on the horizon. So what does this mean? Let me just simplify it real quick. So in simple terms, the Federal Reserve controls the flow of money in the market, and one of the tools it has to help with that control is adjusting the federal interest rate, which has a large influence on the cost of borrowing money for businesses, individuals, anything. In general, when interest rates are low, borrowing money is cheap, which leads to lots of economic activity because businesses are more comfortable taking out large loans to fund growth. And when interest rates are high, economic growth slows as businesses are less likely to take out large loans, so consumers take their money out of the stock market and focus on reliable passive income like purchasing bonds or just holding money in a high interest savings account. Increasing interest rates also help combat inflation because when the economy slows down, the need for cash and workers also slows down, which brings down inflation. The current interest rate we have ranges from 5.25 to 5.5%, and it has been this way since late July 2023. Just to give you guys an idea of just how much economic stimulation a federal interest rate cut can provide, as of 2:15 Eastern today, the NASDAQ composite has risen 1.19%, which is equivalent to hundreds of billions of dollars being put into the market. And all of this movement, right, is just based on speculation. Powell didn't even provide specific information about when or how big the cuts are going to be. All he said was they might drop soon, and then hundreds of billions of dollars just flood the market. So you may be wondering, why is all of this happening right now? It's not like inflation isn't still a problem. I'm pretty sure our target inflation was about 2%, and we're still at 2.9%. So cutting the interest rate is actually going to increase inflation in the next year. So yeah, why are we doing this? Well, the answer is, it's an election year. So typically in election years, interest rates are cut to spur economic activity, which helps the current president make an argument about how the economy has done well under them. In this case, Biden is dropping out, but since he's endorsed Harris, benefits of increased market activity should help her in the polls. Now, I can't say if that's a really good thing or not. As I said before, I prefer Harris over Trump, but inflation is going to be a problem with this, and that's probably going to lead to more long-term problems down the line. I mean, remember back in 2021, 22, the rate was like 0.2%, 0.1%, and we had crazy inflation, like 9%, 10% year on year. So I don't know how much they're gonna drop it by. Hopefully it's not a crazy amount, but inflation is gonna come back, and that is gonna suck. But you know, long-term problems, right? That's for the next president to worry about, right? Just keep pushing the problems down the line, and surely nothing bad will happen in the future, right, guys? There's no breaking point, right? Well, thanks for watching, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, tune in next week, because on Friday, September 6th, chat will be investing my money in 10 stocks voted on by you. Will you help me make a massive profit, or will you destroy my bank account? Only you can decide here at twitch.tv/I'mFunz. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.